driving. It probably doesn't seem like the best idea to make a video while you're driving, and it's probably not. But, you know, it's like driving with a friend, having conversation, and I hate driving alone. Actually, I have a lot of anxiety around driving, so I thought maybe if I talk while I drive and not look at the camera, just like you were sitting next to me, then, I don't know, it could help me, it could help you. So today, I wanted to talk about my passenger. This great model that I got from here. I guess I would have to post it, link it. A therapist at some point. It's from the book, The Choice Point Worksheet from the Weight Escape. Should have memorized that, but so I think it's from a book that is about people who are struggling with weight issues, but I think it's a great model for anyone struggling with any kind of challenging situation. So that's what the model has. At the bottom there's a challenging situation, and then on either side there's a hook and helper. So the hooks can be any kind of negative thoughts, behaviors, emotions, or patterns that are kind of the negative or, you know, dark side. So we can talk about like dark and light. And then, you know, it's kind of a spiritual aspect of it. And then the helpers are going to be anything that move you in a positive way towards the direction you want to go, the person you want to be, the decisions you want to make. Positive self-esteem, positive self-talk, good, healthy habits that move you forward versus unhealthy habits. So, and then in the middle, it comes to the choice point. And so, based on whether you feed into your hooks or your helpers, you're going to either move towards, I had to look at that, that's all I had to say was towards, or away from your true self, and who you're called to be, you know, on a deeper level. And I think spiritually it's such a really great and true point, because oftentimes when people will look at spirituality, or especially in Christianity, and sin and shame and detriment, and people are constantly berating themselves from being away from their best self, or God, or their higher power, or whatnot. You know, we all have a darkness and a light. We all have negative thoughts, negative pieces to ourselves, and we all hopefully have some light in there. Pieces of us that we were born with, pieces of us that we were meant to live out and be. So this is a chart is just a great reminder that when we are faced with a challenging situation, to stop and take a moment. I heard this on a sobriety podcast. You know, take a moment between your behavior and your action. Whether it's whatever behavior you're trying to change, try to put some space in between your action, your thought and your action. So if you're trying to create, say, some sobriety in your life, like not even that you need to be sober or you're an alcoholic, but that just alcohol is not feeding you. It's not moving your spirit forward. It's not moving you to the place where you want to be spiritually, intellectually, even career-wise. So in that moment, when you have the thought, you're at the challenging situation, you want to have a drink. Okay, is that a positive or a negative choice as far as moving you along the situation? think about it. And I think this person had suggested, set a timer. Say if you want, this is something you want to work on for 30 days, set a timer for 30 minutes and say, okay, I'm not going to act out on this behavior for 30 minutes. And I'm really going to take some space. And if you can, sit down, think about it, meditate, go for a run, exercise, make dinner, making food, great outlet for some people. Do something relaxing where you can really think about your goals. Go to your journal where you've written down your goals and say, is this going to forward me towards where I want to be spiritually or away where I want to be spiritually? And then after the 30 minutes is up, see how you feel about that situation. You may feel the same as when you started, but over time, I think, as we continue talking about this, over time, as you build a prayer practice and you build a spiritual community, it will be easier to detach yourself from the negative behavior that is taking you away from your true purpose. And I'm not saying that drinking does that for everybody, but for some people it does. For other people, it could be, I just want to let loose on my kids. Okay, maybe take 5, take 10, take 20. And if that's a behavior you're trying to change because you don't feel like it's taking you through to your full purpose, your full potential, your full communication with your family that you could be executing here on this great earth, just put some space in between the thought and the behavior and see what you come up with. Sometimes sobriety from anything we're overdoing is a good thing. It gives you some space. But you have to have the support, I think, in place, in my opinion. The emotional support, whether it's a therapist or through friends or through a community of like-minded people. And you do have to, I think, start to lay out the end game and some of your goals. Like as far as your light and what you have to offer the world, what is that? What do you want to do more of? Who do you want to be more of? Things that are already inside of you. We don't need to cultivate things that we are not. I'm never going to be CEO of a company. Never going to be like super high energy, super consistent, but really, and maybe we can do that in another one, like taking time to discern your call and your charism, and how do you feed that in a positive way to make a better impact in the world? Like, what did God call you to? So I think it's good, and maybe we could do that one next, before you even start to kind of try to play around with some emotional sobriety. Really know, what are you after? Like, why are you here on this earth? What did God gift you with? Because it definitely is something, friend. Like, it is a lot of things. But become really clear about that objective, and maybe it's just something really simple. Well, this isn't really simple, but some people would see it as, I feel really called to be a really good mom. That's an amazing calling. It's really difficult, especially if you have teenagers. or little kid. I think little kids were more challenging, but teenagers, it's a whole different thing. So what do you do well? What are you passionate about? God wrote these things on your heart for a reason. He wrote our passions on our heart, and sometimes they're very difficult. And sometimes we also then clutter them up with a bunch of ego stuff. We do have the things that we're really good at, but then we also have 10 other things that we need to take on. And it looks like they're good, but they're really clutter. They're ego things. And an example that I can give is that, so I have an anxiety disorder. It's really challenging for me. At one point, I was in graduate school, raising 3 kids. I don't have a job, so I will point that out. I did have the space to do graduate school without having to work full time, which is great. But I was volunteering at 2 different places twice a week in the city, and I was on a board that I wasn't being very effective at, wasn't being very helpful. And I have this kind of mental illness to deal with. I really need more self-care. I have to take care of myself. So I was doing all those things, and they all look really good, right? Like they're all philanthropic and really helpful. Although I wasn't very helpful on the board. It looked good on paper. Like I sit on the board of directors. It's totally great for people who do that for the right reasons, but I think I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was kind of trying to make up for my anxiety disorder and how I felt it was limiting by overdoing things and doing like important things. Just being a volunteer running an art group was not seemingly important enough at the time. So I, burned out, and I got really sick, and I had to leave the board, and I had to leave my other volunteer position, and it ended up impacting my family, and it was bad because I was being stubborn, and I wasn't listening. I wasn't taking the time to discern what was effective for me. And I think that's also where these choice points can come in handy. So we're at our final destination. Today I'm at the Mission, and I've got pumpkins or pumpkin carving, so that is a fun day, and I'm glad to travel along with my friends. I can only imagine if anyone ever watched this on YouTube that I'm going to get a lot of negative feedback, like, you're the type of person who gets in accidents. I drove really well, I swear. It's really good to talk out loud while you're driving. So that's what I'd say. Maybe the next talk is on discernment. But I'll post the handout on choice points for anyone who wants to look at it. It's really simple, and I think it's just about building a repertoire of support. How do you support yourself? How do you support your mental health? How do you support your self-care? How do you support yourself when you're in challenging situations to move towards your goal rather than away from your goal? Like, over white knuckling it. How do you really live in to this beautiful call that God has for you, instead of hitting the easy button? And trust me, I do it all the time. I hit the easy button. All the things I cancel because my anxiety is too much, all the things I do to avoid anxiety. TV, being cranky to my kids, all that kind of stuff. So I get it. It's really difficult, but I feel like the more you practice and the more clarity and space you get from your negative behaviors, and the more clarity you get around your goals, and meeting them, and knowing you can meet them, and knowing you can rise to that challenge, and that you're a force in this world. You're a force for good. You're a force to be reckoned with. You're a force here on earth with a great purpose. We all are. Whether that is just being polite and kind. I don't mean to belittle that, right? But there's all levels of force in the universe, and we need all of us. Some of us are heavy hitters. You might be a heavy hitter, just doing like amazing, really high level things in the community, in the world, internationally. And some of us, like myself, maybe doing small one-on-one interactions. We all matter. Yeah, we do. So thanks for listening. I didn't have a panic attack. This is a good strategy for me too. See? Talk it out. Maybe you need a call line. Okay, friends. It'd be fun to get a community conversation going around this. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your challenging situations are, where you make your choice points, how you get yourself out of negative patterns. What is it? Yoga, breathing, community, cooking, running. Tell us about it. Strategies to take you into your true self. Cool. I'm here.